We have clearly said this was not a pledging conference, and yet there were commitments made during these 2 days that are good news. More or less 120 million euros were announced today as additional contributions from individual delegations, and that comes on top of the additional 30 million euros that European Union institutions are mobilizing in these days. The European Union has been mobilizing 320 million euros so far. I believe that both in terms of political, financial, technical support, this has been an important step to be continued, to be followed up. Obviously knowing that the real solution to this refugees and migrants crisis will be the political solution that will allow Venezuela to regain peacefully a democratic life. And you know that the European Union is working closely together with our partners in the region to try to achieve that result. But in the meantime, we cannot avoid giving an urgent response to the humanitarian situation that Venezuelans and the host communities are facing. And so this double track today, I think, has been successfully put in place.
I have been impressed by the support that they have received from host communities and host countries. And let's face it, this is not a traditional or what we commonly imagine as a refugee crisis. These are people that live in communities. Children go to schools of the countries where they are hosted. If they have health problems, they benefit from the health services. So the burden, the responsibility of host countries is huge. And most of it has been borne by the host countries themselves. So I think that this conference was a very welcome opportunity to thank the host countries and to show them some concrete response. The crisis continues, unfortunately. We all agreed in the conference that it is important to look at root causes, because how sustainable it is to mobilize resources for such a large number of people, 4.5 million people that have left, thousands leaving every day, mostly through the Colombian border, but also to Brazil and then and Guyana and onwards to other countries in the Caribbean and in Latin America. We heard statements from countries that are thousands of kilometers away and host hundreds of thousands of Venezuelans. Some of them have gone on foot all the way on these terrible journeys. So to highlight this crisis, which is a bit away from us here in Europe, I think has been a big achievement of this conference.
This conference wanted to call the attention of the international community to the necessity of reducing the suffering of the 4.5 million refugees and migrants from Venezuela in the neighboring countries, most particularly those who are in the more vulnerable situation, like women, children, and unaccompanied minors. And I think it is fair to say that we should recognize the enormous generosity of a country like Colombia, which is the first country of entry after the people depart from Venezuela, that has just recognized the citizenship to 24,000 babies of Venezuelan families that were born in Colombia. This shows the willingness of the countries of the region to receive, welcome, and support those who have been displaced due to the existing situation in Venezuela. In spite of not being a pledge conference, the fact that there were countries that have engaged in reinforcing our joint platform of support to the Venezuelan migrants, it's a very good sign. It's the beginning of a process, but we think that it is very encouraging